Hi, I'm Richard A. Boxshall. I'm in Tokyo, Japan today, but being 5,930 miles away from you doesn't mean you're not going to get the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. Hello, I may be a long distance away from you and 8 hours into your future, but that does not mean you're not going to get today's show. Later on, I'll be reviewing the new album from Myles Smith, My Mess, My Heart, My Life. You'll get the news, but first, here is the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. This week we have 2 new entries, 2 re-entries, 2 songs going up, 10 songs going down, and 4 non-movers. At number 20 we have Olivia Dean, Nice to Each Other, which is a re-entry. At number 19 we have a non-mover for Fleetwood Mac with Landslide. Dave and Thames with Rain Dance is down 4 places to number 18, Femi with Noble is down 6 places to number 17, and Calvin Harris and Douglas with Blessings is down 1 place to number 16. We have a new entry at number 15 for H, Ring My Bell, and at number 14 we have Olivia Dean with So Easy to Fall in Love, down 1 place. Down 3 places to 13 is Ray, Where Is My Husband, and at number 12 we have a new entry for Badil, Skinner and the Lightning Seeds with their football anthem 3 lines, It's Coming Home. Fleetwood Mac's Everywhere is down 3 places to number 11. Here's your top 10. At number 10 it's Silver Bumper with On Tonight, which is down 1 place. At number 9 we have Harry Styles up 3 places with Sign of the Times. We have a re-entry at number 8 for Harry Styles with Aperture. And at number 7 there's a non-mover for Fleetwood Mac with Dreams. We also have a non-mover at number 6 for Sienna Spiro with Material Lover, and Prosper and Clooney's Free Your Mind is down 1 place to number 5. At number 4 it's Olivia Dean with Man I Need, down 1 place. At number 3 it's Chemical Brothers with Go, down 1 place. And at number 2 Harry Styles' American Girls climbs up 3 places. And at number 1 it's Sam Fender and Olivia Dean with Rein Me In. Well, I've been on the record for the last few weeks of saying how dull the chart has been, and that feels like there's a little more going on than there has been for the last few weeks. For a start, the top 2 have changed. Chemical Brothers with Go has been at number 2 for a very long time. But let's talk through some of the funny bits. So, do you remember last week we had a new entry? Or was it a re-entry? But anyway, Olivia Dean's Nice to Each Other knocked Baby Steps out of the chart because you can only have 3 songs in the official chart by the same artist. Well, the reverse has happened this week, and I kind of said I thought that might happen last week. So Nice to Each Other has knocked Baby Steps back out of the chart. So yes, we have the re-entry for Olivia Dean with Nice to Each Other at the bottom of the chart. The other re-entry this week was Harry Styles and Aperture, which is at number 8. Harry's other songs in the charts have done really well this week as well. So Sign of the Times has gone up 3 and American Girls has gone up 3. And there's a reason for that. He's doing his stint at, where is it he's playing? I think it's at Wembley Stadium or Wembley Arena, but he's at Wembley, I think it's Wembley, doing his show at the moment, so that's probably why those tracks are in people's consciousness a little bit more than normal. Obviously, I've called it a new entry because since I've been tracking this chart, Badil, Skinner and the Lightning Seeds have never been in it with 3 Lions. I think they did appear a couple of years ago when I was tracking a top 40, but because I haven't tracked the intervening months and years, I had to treat this as a new chart. But I think it was during the Euros 2 years ago, and I was doing a top 40 in those days, we actually had 3 songs in the top 40 that were football related. So Badil and Skinner's Lightning and the Lightning Seeds with 3 Lions was there. There was I can't remember what it's called, Vindaloo. Can't remember who that's by. Was it by that comedian? Was it by Lily Allen's dad? Yeah, anyway, so there was that. And there was also the frankly far superior New Order and the England Cups and the England squad's World in Motion. All 3 of those were in the top 40 a couple of years ago during the Euros. And I think because it's a top 20, I'm not convinced that any of these songs are going to reappear this time apart from 3 Lions. But how long 3 Lions is around for, I suppose, depends on how well we do in the tournament. It could be 5 or 6 weeks of it, and the further we get into the tournament, probably the more it's going to get listened to and the better it's going to do. So yes, I think we're going to be revisiting Three Lions for a little while. Sam Fender and Olivia Dean's Rain Me In is still at number 1 in my chart, but it's not at number 1 in the official top 40 and top 100. In fact, number 1 is still I Knew It, I Knew You by Taylor Swift for the second week in a row. And then you've got something I failed to predict last week. Of course, the Olivia Rodrigo album come out. And when an album is going to be as stellar as that one was clearly going to be, I have listened to it. It is very good. There's nearly always 3 songs from a stellar album in the top 10, in the official top 10. And obviously The Cure and Drop Dead were already in there, but they've both gone up. Drop Dead has actually gone up from 13 to 5 in the official top 40. And Stupid Song, which is another track from the early part of that album, has come in. Is it the early part? I don't know. But anyway, it's in there as well. So you've got the 3 Olivia Rodrigo songs in there, which means Rain Me In by Sam Fender and Olivia Dean is number 4 in the official chart. So could this be it? Could it be the end of that song's dominance? There's a side of me that says I'm not totally sure, because I think once the Olivia Rodrigo stuff drops and the Taylor Swift drops, there's a chance they will go up again. Whether they'll go all the way up to number 1 in the official chart, I don't know. But I would like to. Like I say, I'd always rather see a song by a British artist at number 1 than an American artist, even if they're as good as Olivia Rodrigo. In terms of what left the chart this week, actually, because there was 2 new entries and 2 re-entries, 4 songs left the chart this week. So Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten left after 6 weeks. The highest place it got to was number 11. Olivia Dean's Baby Steps has been in for 3 weeks, but on and off. The highest that got to was number 7. The big loss are these last 2. Is this last one. Pink Pantheress Stateside has finally fallen out of the top 20. And that has been in my chart every week since I started doing this. But it's gone now, leaving I think only 6 songs that have been there from day one. And the final song that dropped out, Prosper and Murder Beats Baby, which has been sitting at number 20 for 3 weeks, has finally left the chart. Now, in terms of chart penetration, we've got only 1 British song in the official top 10, which is, of course, Sam Fender and Olivia Dean with Rain Me In. So that's only 10%. That's down 10% on last week. But the actual top 20 has got 1 more song. It's got 6 out of the 20 in the official top 10 by British artists. That's 30%, up 5% last week. And the top 40 has also improved. There's 14 out of 40 British songs in the chart, which is 35% and up 5% on last week. Now, my number 20, which is Olivia Dean's Nice to Each Other, is number 56 in the official chart, which means that if you listen to the top 56, 20 of the songs will be British. And that's actually 2 places worse than last week. Last week it was number 54. Finally, we've now had 25 weeks of charts this week. British artists have been at number 1 for 18 of those weeks. But the Americans are kind of taking over a little bit, because I think everything else, looking at this, everything else that's been number 1 this year has been American. So we've had Joe and Beginning for 2 weeks, Taylor Swift Opalite for 1 week, and I Knew It, I Knew You for 2 weeks, and Olivia Rodrigo's Drop Dead for 1 week, and Ariana Grande's I Hate That Made You Love Me 1 week. So that's 7 out of the 25 weeks have been international artists, all of them American, which isn't great, but it's still, we're coming up to the halfway point next year, halfway through the year, so we will know exactly what percentage of British artists have been at number 1 for the first half of the year, and it's a pretty substantial percentage. It's going to be just under 75%, I think. Anyway, that was it. Now it's time for the news. As usual, we will start with the Spotify roundup. No music by British artists appeared on the Global Debut Albums Top 10 or the Global Debut Songs Top 10 this week. Olivia Dean's The Art of Loving was up 1 place to number 8 on the Global Albums Top 10 this week. The deluxe version of Dua Lipa's self-titled first album was up another place to number 6. There was no British representation on the Global Songs Top 10 this week. There are actually 4 British entries in the Global Pre-Saves Top 10 this week. The Wow Signal by Muse is up 1 place to number 6 with 387,000 pre-saves, up 24,100 on last week. This album comes out on Friday. Count Your Blessings by Bring Me the Horizon is at number 7 with 354,800 pre-saves. I think this may have been in here for a couple of weeks and I missed it, so I haven't mentioned it before now, sorry. That one's due to be released on the 10th of July. And at number 10 is a new entry, Music Fashion Film by Charlie XCX with 224,300 pre-saves. That comes out on the 24th of July. And we also have a new entry at number 10 with Foreign Tongues, the new record from the Rolling Stones with 188,200 pre-saves. That is released on the 10th of July. The following songs joined the Spotify Billions Club in May: I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers and About You by the 1975. In other news, Ed Sheeran has hinted at a recent live show that he will shortly be taking a break from music. During a live show in Arizona on the 13th of July, whilst talking to the audience between songs, he said that he might take some time off at the end of the current tour to, and I quote, do the dad thing. This week's BPI Brit certified releases are: in singles, Ezra Collective and Olivia Dean's No One's Watching Me is a silver single, as is Welcome to the DDC by Nothing But the Thieves. The City by the 1975 is gold, and Love at First Sight by Kylie Minogue is platinum. No British albums were certified this week, but it is worth mentioning that the new Olivia Rodrigo album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love, was announced as a gold album within a week of its release. The new albums released by British artists on Friday were Amma by Amma, Motion Sickness by Fredo, Sweating Someone Else's Fever by Hard-Fi, The Wizard by M. Huncho, My Mess, My Heart, My Life by Myles Smith, and Rituals of Shame by Warning. And that was the news. Now it's time for this week's new album review. 28-year-old Myles Michael Smith Thompson was born on the 3rd of June 1998 to a British Jamaican family in Luton. As a youngster, he liked a broad range of music, including punk, hip-hop and songs by singer-songwriters. Myles Smith taught himself to play the piano and the guitar, and by the age of 12 was performing cover versions at local open mic nights, including songs by Chris Martin, Ed Sheeran and Marcus Mumford. He went to university in Nottingham, obtaining a degree in sociology in 2019, and he started posting music on TikTok in 2022. At this point, he was noticed by Eric Parker, the CEO of Extended Play Music Group, who became his manager. Together, they used the internet to build a following for Smith by posting cover versions of songs of a similar type that he was intending to write. He started releasing his own music in 2023, and singles such as My Home and Solo led to a record deal with Sony Music. After some more singles, he released his first EP in March 2024, titled You Promised a Lifetime. It failed to chart, but his big break was just around the corner. On the 10th of May that year, he released a single called Stargazing, which got to number 1 in Belgium and the Czech Republic, as well as getting to number 4 in the UK's official chart. It even got to number 19 in the US Billboard Hot 100. After that, he released several new singles, including a collaboration with One Direction's Niall Horan. These garnered him a further 4 top 40 singles. Indeed, Nice to Meet You got to number 6 in the UK, number 1 again in the Czech Republic, and 25 in the Billboard Hot 100 in the United States. On Friday, he released his first album. Titled My Mess, My Heart, My Life, it contains a few of his singles and a lot of new songs. Running to 45 minutes and a total of 15 songs, is this going to help him continue his upward trajectory? The first track on the album, My Mess, was released as a single on the 10th of April this year and largely failed to chart. It got to number 58 on the official Top 100 in the UK and was in my chart for 1 week at number 19, but it was not noticed globally. It is effectively the title track of the album and tells the story of his youth and fractured family. It's a much better song than its chart position would suggest, but its performance as a single must have been disappointing for Myles and his team. Track 2, Hold Me in the Dark, is similarly angsty, which is a shame. Because of its content and feel, it would have been better placed away from My Mess. This was also released as a single after My Mess and did not chart. The third track is called Hate You and is full of, guess what? More angst. I'm starting to spot a pattern. The first outstanding track is Grandma's Place, which managed to mix the now familiar angst with some genuine pathos. I can't remember how it's pronounced and I can't be bothered to Google it. It has beautiful and reflective lyrics about his relationship with his grandma, how she used to protect him from the excesses of his father when he was younger, and about how he got older he found he lost touch with her. When he was young, he lived a few doors away, but as an adult, his life took him away, a regret that I can personally relate to with some of my own grandparents. It has a sad ending. When I started the song, I groaned and thought to myself, I know where this is going, but it was done so well, it didn't feel like a cliche when it got to that moment. It actually evoked tears on my second listen, and the last song that did that to me was Ray's Click Clack Symphony, which I still can't listen to without getting emotional. It does feel like there's a genuine increase in quality from this point. Mary's song is short but sweet, and it's not until track 7 that we are presented with a song that feels familiar, his enjoyable collaboration with Niall Horan entitled Drive Safe. Dublin Lights is the only misstep on the album. It has a very Irish feel. If one was being cynical, one might almost say a very Irish feel, almost stereotypically in fact, and it genuinely feels out of place on the album. Track 12 is Stargazing. It's his one massive hit so far. It's a BPI triple platinum single and it's a member of the Spotify Billions Club. It is also recognised as a high-performing record in other territories. It's rated as 6 times platinum in Australia and Canada and also received platinum status or better in several other territories. On the album, it is immediately followed by Nice to Meet You, his other big hit. Overall, this is an enjoyable collection of songs. There are maybe slightly less outstanding tracks than I would have liked, but it works very well as a collection. The samey feel of the first handful of songs could have been corrected by altering the track order, and I strongly feel that Stargazing on Night to Meet You should have been placed earlier in the album, as this might help to retain streaming listeners. I was slightly disappointed also that Wait For You, another song of his that was released as a single that I really enjoyed, was not included in the album. I really relate to the lyrics and it's one of my favourites. There's no reliable information about how many pre-saves this album received, but it never entered the top 10 pre-saves chart on Spotify, which usually features records around the 200,000 pre-saves mark or over. My guess would be that he got about 150 to 200,000 pre-saves, which is half of what Niall Horan got with his album a couple of weeks ago. Will that be enough to get him to number 1? It may. He had a very visible campaign to shift physical copies of the album, which holds 100 times more weight than a single stream of the album, and he has been all over social media for weeks now. Also, there have been several number ones that never entered the pre-saves chart, such as last week's Paul McCartney album. From what I can see, there's nothing as high profile as My Mess, My Heart, My Life coming out this week, so he stands a good chance of getting the number 1 spot. I certainly hope that he does. Now, regular listeners will know that this podcast is a bit of a passion project of mine. I have to fit it around other commitments. Ideally, I would listen to every new British album on the Friday it's released and then choose which one to review. The reality is I don't have time to do that. Last week I didn't have time to review or listen to a single album. If there's a big release coming, then I tend to review the most obvious album of the week. You know, whether it's Harry Styles or Ray or indeed Myles Smith this week. Some weeks I do get a chance to listen to other stuff. I did this week. And I would like to do a quick honourable mention in terms of albums this week. Once I'd finished listening to My Mess, My Heart, My Life and made the notes on it in preparation to write the script for the review, I had a pile of ironing to do. So I decided to do it with another British album on in the background. I randomly chose Sweating Someone Else's Fever by Hard-Fi, which I really enjoyed. You Rule My Heart, Humpback Whale and Ain't Going Out Tonight are great. There's something about the lead singer, Richard Archer, and the way he delivers his lyrics with a minimalist and deadpan vocal style, which reminds me a little of Bernard Sumner from New Order and Electronic. So please listen to both of the albums I've talked about this week. They're both worth it and both thoroughly enjoyable. And I'd also like to do a shout out for an independent artist who recently released an EP called Humdrum 5. I really liked an album she released last year called Textile Lemonade. If I had been doing this podcast at that point, I would certainly have talked about it. Her name is Roberta Smith, and she's recently released an EP, as I said, called Humdrum 5, which is 5 songs. It was released towards the end of last month on CD and download, and there's a sad story behind it. Textile Lemonade, her full album that she released last year, was produced by a producer, recording engineer and musician called Aaron Z. Jones. Sadly, he was killed in a motorcycle accident in October last year. I'm not sure if these 5 songs were the beginning of a new project or songs left off of Textile Lemonade. They're very good, so I tend to assume it was the former. But this is a lovely little EP in its own right and a wonderful companion piece to Textile Lemonade. I recommend them both, and they're available at all good streaming platforms and in physical form from robertasmithsongs.com. Well, that's just about it for this week. The last bit of unfinished business are my songs of the week. Now, the one I'm going to say for my international song of the week isn't normally the kind of song that I like, but there's something about this one that I really, really do like. So I always listen to the new entries in the whole of the top official top 100 just to see if there's anything interesting going on, and that's not only the British releases, that's the international releases as well. And the song I've gone for this week has got an awesome title. It's called Iconic by Mistake, and it's a collaboration between Le Seraphim, Katsai and Illit. It's, as I say, it's not the normal kind of thing I would recommend, but there's something about it that I really like. Even harder was my British song of the week, because given the stuff I've talked about today, there were several contenders. So unusually for me, I'm going to give you some runners-up, some ones that I wanted to put forward, but just felt the one I've actually given it to kind of clinched it. So the almost rans, or the ones that I really seriously considered as my British song of the week were, firstly, I mentioned Roberta Smith and her album Textile Lemonade. My favourite track on that album is called I Am Alone. It's absolutely amazing. I could almost see it playing out at the end of a movie. It's absolutely terrific. So I Am Alone by Roberta Smith from her album Textile Lemonade. The other 2 songs that I seriously considered were from the Hardfi album, and the one that nearly got it was Humpback Whale from that album. However, the British song of the week was Grandma's Place by Myles Smith from his album My Mess, My Heart, My Life. That's it. I'll be back at a similar time next week. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.